Hello dear students, I am your biology teacher from LPM Public School, Gola Bazar. Today we will start discussion about animal tissues. So first we need to know what are the major differences between animal and plant tissues on which ground the further classification is based on. So the main point that comes in our mind when we compare plant and animal tissues is the complexity of function. As we all know that the activities of physiology, the structure, function of plant tissues are simpler in comparison to animal tissues. As you know that animal cell is also complex in its structure when we compare the structure of animal cell with plant cell. So to execute complex functions we need complex structure. Okay, that's why the animal tissues are complex in nature and function both. So first we need to know how many types of animal tissues are generally found in animals and human beings. So the classification is done based on the functions that are performed by these four types of tissues that are from animal tissues. First one is epithelial tissue, second one is muscular, third one is connective, and last one is nervous tissue. So we will study these four types that are divided on the basis of their functions. The first one is epithelial tissues. First we need to understand the structure and function of epithelial tissues. After that we will keep on discussing all these four. So when we talk about the epithelial, the first thing that comes in our mind is they are most simplest type of tissues that are found in animal and human being, and they form the outer covering that acts as a protective covering to animals and human being. It is responsible for keeping all the infection, all the negative impacts of environment away from the body of animals and human being. It makes the outer and inner covering as well, like the inner covering of your lungs. As you know that when we inhale the air, with air several infectious agents like bacteria, virus, fungus, their spores enter into our lungs, and when there is no proper protective covering, then this infection will easily enter into human or animal body, and it will create several type of infectious diseases. So it is the internal defense mechanism of organism's body to make a protective covering that will keep all the infections, all the negative impacts of the environment away, and it will provide a safe medium, a safe environment to the inner tissues and inner cells to execute their desired functions to keep the organisms hale and hearty. If the outer covering is not there, suppose you are going outside in the rain and you are not wearing any jacket to protect you from rain and you are not carrying umbrella, then you will get wet. Same function. If there is no outer covering on the skin of animals or human being, then what will happen? You can assume it acts as a shield. Okay, the dead cells of skin keep all the infections away, and sometimes there are pores within the cells, and these cells allow some excretory products, water, or sebaceous glands secrete mucus. Different types of secretions are there to make the animal or human being adapted to the environment. So how epithelial tissues work, we will study in detail. In your book, it is mentioned that this type of tissue covers the entire body externally as well as internally, as we discussed. It is the protective tissue of animal body, the skin, the lining of mouth. What is the location where you can find the presence of epithelial tissues? Some examples are given in your book, and these are the lining of mouth, the skin, the lining of blood vessels, lung, alveoli, kidney, to each and every organ of human or animal body, you will find the presence of epithelial tissues. There are slight modifications are also present in there. Okay, because to execute some specific type of functions, some epithelial cells are secretory in nature. They secrete enzymes, hormones, or other mucus, the elements that are required to keep the infection away, or to keep your body moist, or to keep the temperature balance. We will see one by one about the structure of these cells. These cells are tightly packed and form a continuous sheet. As you witness that if there is any hole in the umbrella, then the water will pour into and you will get wet. In the same manner, if the covering is not permanent, there are holes, then the infection will reach into the human body or any animal body. So there should be continuous spread of that protective covering. Okay. Next feature is these are without intracellular spaces and intracellular matrix. If there is intracellular space, then the infectious agent will find a passage. That's why there are no spaces. There are special modifications in the cells. When there is a need, and this type of cells will secrete the desired material, but it will not allow the outer material to enter into the animal or human body. Such type of adaptations are highly desirable in the animals who are living in harsh environmental conditions. Okay, you will find this type of adjustment in hippopotamus or even in human body. The sweat, it is a protective mechanism of body to keep your body temperature down in the humid and hot conditions. If there is no secretion of water in the form of sweat from human skin, then the temperature balance would be disturbed and the human body will not be able to live at ease. That's why in such type of adverse environmental conditions, there are several types of adaptations, several types of protective mechanisms are also found even in human body. How we adapt. So we will discuss all these things one by one. First, we need to know that these epithelial tissues rest upon non-cellular layer that is known as basement membrane. As you know that it is the outer covering beneath the epidermis. I am not saying epidermis, beneath the epithelial tissue. Epidermis is found as the protective covering in plants. This is the basic difference. When such type of questions are asked, what are the outer protective covering that are found in animals and plants? You need to answer that. Epidermis in plants, epithelial tissues in animals. Okay.